Welcome, everyone. I'm Gary Zukav. I'm happy to be with you tonight. For those of you who don't know me or are new here, I and my spiritual partner, Linda Francis, have given events and written books about the most important transformation that has ever happened to humankind. That is a new consciousness, and that is now emerging in the entire human species in the next 2 generations. Welcome. I want you to meet my beloved Linda Francis again.
This is something you can know for sure. If you are in a reaction, it's coming from fear. It is not coming from love. That is for sure. There's no doubt about that. If you are in a reaction, judging, angry, upset, I don't care, in a reaction, you are not in a loving place. You're not coming from love. For me, it's so important that you're able to see that. And that's what, for me, creating authentic power is that ability to see what's going on in me and change that.
Well, that was a brief glimpse of Linda. You saw that last time if you were on the last call. And I'm playing it again. And we'll probably play it later at the end of the call. And the reason is, if there's anything that she said or any energy that you felt, note it. Be aware of it. And when you hear that tape played again, do the same thing and see if there's any difference in what you note and what you resonated with. The purpose of this call is to explore spiritual partnership, and that means emotional awareness and responsible choice. Or in other words, creating authentic power and assisting others in doing that who are also creating authentic power. So please turn on your camera, unless you're driving, and be present with us. Even if frightened parts of your personality feel resistant to turning on your camera, challenge that frightened part of your personality so we can all feel connected. While I'm speaking, write down the questions that come to your heart, not to your head, and I'll answer them later in the hour. Be concise and be direct. And also, I suggest this to you. I'm going to share things that are so for me, and they may be helpful to you. And I don't ask you to take what I say as true just because I say it. I would suggest you never do that with anyone. But if you hear anything you resonate with that I say, experiment with it. Gail, will you please share with people how they can submit their questions?
Sure. Hi, everyone. On Zoom, to submit your question to Gary, go to chat and type your question in all caps. And that way we can easily identify. And if you're on social media, type your question in all caps in the comments section. Thank you.
Thank you, Gail. We have a much larger audience tonight than in the past. We're experimenting. And what we're always experimenting with is supporting people in creating authentic power and doing that in spiritual partnerships. Tonight, some of us are joining on Zoom. Those are the people that will be able to talk with me directly. But in addition to that, we have people from Facebook, from Instagram, from YouTube, from I think a total of 5 different platforms. And I love this aspect of technology because the way we use it is to help not impress you, but to empower you. And to be more precise, to help you experiment with ways to empower yourself, because I don't have the ability to empower you, and no one does. Let me know in the chat or in the comments what country you're joining us from. Let's experiment with that now. Do that now. I'm not seeing anything in the chats. Oh, is someone from New Zealand, from Texas, from Canada, from Virginia, from Florida, Maryland, Arizona? Okay, it sounds U.S. to me. Denver, California, New Jersey, New York, Columbia, Pennsylvania, Minnesota. Oh, that's a delight. It's a delight. Welcome, everyone. Welcome, everyone. So we have people here from New Zealand to South Africa to Reno to San Diego. But wherever you are, know this. There is a new human consciousness that is emerging, and it's emerging throughout the entire human species. And it's not emerging around you. It's not emerging in front of you or behind you. It's emerging in you. And that's what we're going to talk about. In the emails that you've received, you've seen beautiful pictures of Linda and me, and I love them all. And it may give the impression that spiritual partnership is a dyadic relationship. That means that it happens between two people. And it can be that very much. It can also be a relationship on a sports team, in a biological family. Oh, that's a powerful circumstance when that happens. At work, at school, anywhere. A spiritual partnership is a partnership between equals for the purpose of spiritual growth. And what is spiritual growth? It's creating authentic power. Well, if there's an authentic power, is there an inauthentic power? Yes, there is. It didn't used to be. That's part of the transformation from one consciousness to the other, from the old to the new. In the old consciousness, power was the ability to manipulate and control. That's external power. You could gain it, you could lose it. We needed it to survive because we were 5th century and we survived by pursuing external power. That's not happening anymore. We're becoming a multi-sensory species, one that's not limited to the 5 senses. And we're evolving by growing spiritually. And we grow spiritually by creating authentic power. So now let's get back to Valentine's Day, which is the theme that we chose for this call. Everything about Valentine's Day does not have to do with power. If your association with Valentine's Day is sentimental sweetness, heart-shaped boxes of chocolates, and cupids with little arrows shooting them at one another or at you on cards that have hearts on them. That's romantic love. The new consciousness is changing the way you experience everything. Yourself, the world, the universe, power, relationship, community, love. Romantic love is, I feel, one of the most powerful mood elevators ever experienced. It's in a class by itself. It can take you out of depression, out of wherever you are, and into the most wonderful feelings of completeness and fulfillment and the experiences of being beautiful and wanted, intelligent, sexual, everything that you've always wanted to be. But that doesn't last. And like every mood enhancer, mood elevator, it reaches a point of diminishing returns in which, at that point, you're not getting as much of the up as you did before, and pain is starting to reappear. And then you reach a place where it's not helping anymore. The pain has come back. That's when you crash. That's what is called in the old consciousness, perhaps you've called it this, the end of the honeymoon. And all that means is that now you're beginning to see the person that you picked to be with more accurately. You might realize, oh my goodness, she's got a pretty short temper. Or, uh-oh, he drinks. Whatever it is, you're starting to see one another clearly, and that's when your spiritual growth can begin. The romantic aspect of the attraction that you had. And romantic means temporarily addictive. It means that all the things that you've wanted to be in yourself and didn't feel that you are, you project onto someone else. And that's why that old saying, you complete me. Yeah, that never happens. No one completes you. They only show you your own fantasy about what you'd like to be. But if what you see in the other person is loving, gentle, kind, appreciative, open, sharing, listening, that's you too. But it's a part of you that you haven't been able to look at. Why not? Because from the new consciousness, you can see that every experience you have comes from a part of your personality. If you're experiencing anger, for example, it's not you, the unchangeable ground of your being, that's angry or jealous or lonely. That's coming from a part of your personality. And you can choose whether or not to believe that part of your personality. Put it this way. As we interact with one another, we activate different parts of our personalities. And each part of your personality, each one of those parts, is a different way of perceiving a realm of emotion. The realm of fear, for example, has many sub-realms like jealousy, anger, rage, resentment, despondency, wanting to kill yourself, wanting to kill somebody else, jealousy, overwhelm, and every compulsion, obsession, and addiction. Now, the realm of fear, if fear could be called a realm, are experiences such as gratitude or jealousy. Pardon me, not jealousy, patience. The realm of love contains gratitude, appreciation, caring, contentment, patience, all of the universe. When you can see both realms, and that's what realm you're looking at, because it's only through your free will that you can choose which realm your awareness will illuminate for you, the realm of love or the realm of fear, the realm of anger, jealousy, resentment, competitiveness, or the realm of gratitude, appreciation, contentment, patience, and all of the universe. So you can't create authentic power without being aware of both realms. And this you can do because of the new consciousness. And as you become aware of both realms, you begin to see that every personality, yours and everyone else's in the Earth School, has loving parts, that is, parts that originate in fear, come from the realm of fear, and parts that originate in love, that come from the realm of love. And you have the ability to choose which one you're going to speak and act from. Now, where does the power come into this? When you speak or act from love, with patience, with gratitude, with compassion, with caring, with concern for the other, you create consequences in your life. And those consequences are healthy, constructive, open, inclusive. When you choose to speak or act from an intention of fear, you also create consequences, but they're different. Those consequences are unhealthy. They are contracted. They are exclusive. They isolate you, and you feel lonely and angry about being lonely. So, when you have the ability to distinguish between love and fear, that's not the ability to distinguish between something good or bad. The universe doesn't look in those terms. And if you choose to speak in love, you don't get rewarded. And if you choose to speak in fear, you don't get punished. But you create different consequences for yourself. That's what creating authentic power gives you. The ability to create the experiences that you yourself will encounter. That's mastery. Authentic power is love. authentic power is love. There is no greater power. As you learn how to create authentic power, you learn how to create that in your life. Now, does that mean that when you create authentic power, that you're adding more love to the world? No. The world is part of the universe, if you want to use that term, world. The universe is a universe of love. You can't add more love to it. That's meaningless. But you can expand your consciousness so that it is aware of more of what the universe is made of, and that's love. And that's what creating authentic power does. And the experience of love is wonderful. It's the experience of those very same things that I mentioned to you: gratitude, patience, kindness, contentment, awe of the universe. Those are experiences of your soul. When you experience those things, you're experiencing love. You're experiencing the energy of your soul. So when you hear me say, or Linda say, that authentic power is aligning your personality with your soul, that's something to listen to. Because creating authentic power allows you to experience love, what the universe is and what you are, in an ongoing and stabilized way. Now, what's that got to do with Valentine's Day? Nothing. What's it got to do with your ability to feel whole and loved and loving, and to know that you are everything? That's creating authentic power. And that's what I'm here to talk with you about tonight. Love between individuals in the Earth School. And by the way, when I say Earth School, I'm talking about this domain of time and space and matter and duality. From the perspective of the five senses, there isn't anything else. But from the new consciousness, from that perspective, your life is not a book that begins when you were born and ends when you die. It is a chapter in a book. And that chapter begins when you were born, and that chapter ends when you die. From the old perspective, when you die, that's final, a catastrophe, terrifying, the end of everything, darkness, nothing remains. From the new consciousness, all of that changes. And you see that what we call death is not a termination. It is not a termination of your consciousness, and it is not a termination of your responsibility for what you created in the Earth School. When you think about that, and then let yourself feel it, you'll begin to see that that changes a lot of your values and your ways of looking at things. Instead of trying to get more external power by having more education, more wealth, more money, more homes, more shoes, you can instead begin to choose the fulfillment, the delight, the wonder of love, and then live in it. And then eventually, it becomes more and more a part of your awareness. And then it fills your awareness. And then you become it. That's where our new consciousness is leading us. I'd like to give you an example of love between two people in the Earth School. And I'm going to use the example of me and my beloved Linda Francis, whose picture you saw briefly at the beginning of this call. When I first met Linda, I was repulsed by her. I didn't like the way she looked. She was wearing sweats. She was barefoot, walking on gravel, barefoot. I didn't realize she'd never done that before. It was a miracle of her. Then she moved to the small town that I lived in, Mount Shasta, California. The town is small. The mountain there is great. it has an energy of its own. And that energy to me was more inward and supportive of inner growth and inner understanding. And I didn't realize at the time that that's the same as outer growth and understanding the world around me. When Linda moved to this little town and I saw her arrive, I went to meet her and her father, who was driving the rental truck, and one of her friends from chiropractic school. I was happy. I found myself just happy. I'd never experienced that before. And I never had relationships or cared with women. I was addicted to sex before I moved to Mount Shasta. But that doesn't mean that I enjoyed women. I just enjoyed their genitals and their bodies. And I didn't realize until much later that I didn't mean anything more to them than they meant to me. But at the time, I thought I was manly and admirable. When I met Linda, it was different altogether. I was just happy to see her. And she moved into a little cabin not far from mine. And after a while, she would come over in the afternoons sometimes, and I would just be so miserable. I just wish she'd leave. I was so uncomfortable. And other times it was really pleasant to talk. And then she went to Europe to see a guru for a couple of weeks. And while she was gone, I had this realization. I want to live in the same cabin as Linda. I didn't want her living down the road from me. It's a short road. Mount Shasta is small. And when she got back, she had had the same realization. It was that easy and that sweet. So we moved into my cabin together. And I began to experience things I never experienced before. For example, I couldn't picture what it's like to love someone, but I felt something that I never knew could exist in human experience. I loved loving Linda. And I never lost that pleasure. At the time, I was still grieving an unraveling of a relationship. And that was a real relationship that I had with a woman. It wasn't deep, but it was emotionally entangling. We'd even planned to get married. And I began to experience all these things with Linda, these wonderful things. And a part of me thought, I wonder if there's a chance that that still might happen, the old relationship. So I called her. No possibility. She was angry. And that night, while I was having a candlelight dinner with Linda in our little cabin, she looked at me and said, "You called her, didn't you?" And I said, "Yes, I did." And I told her I wanted to see if there was any possibility that we could still get together. And I told her all the things about this person who had been my fiance. I told her how beautiful she was, and how brilliant she was, and how charismatic she was, and how we had thought about creating things together and even having a child together. And afterwards, Linda was silent. And I held my breath. I thought she was going to get up, put down her napkin, and leave the table, leave the cabin, leave my life. Instead, she remained silent a while, and then she said, "I'm glad you told me. Now I can love her too." I'd never experienced graciousness like that, love like that, openness like that. And I continued to experience it with Linda for 27 years. And of many things that I learned, one of them is this, that love between two people in the Earth School is a training experience. It's an experience in that form of a greater love, a larger love, that is love in the universe itself. As we acquire, and as you acquire in you the new consciousness, you are beginning to experience some of the processes beyond the five senses. What lie beyond the five senses? Non-physical reality. I'm using that term because That's a common one, and everyone knows what it means. And yet no one knows what it means. They just know it's something we don't know about, but it's elsewhere. It's not elsewhere. There is no such thing as elsewhere. One of the processes of non-physical reality is the fact that you know that you're a mind and a body and a soul. For example, if I ask you, are you more than a mind and a body? I know because you're listening to this conversation that you'd say, yes. You might have to feel it through or sort it through. And in other times you'd say, yes, of course. Most people say that. But when I ask that question to someone with the old consciousness, they look at me with puzzlement and they say, what else is there? That's how big the gulf is right now. But five sensory humans are not inferior, and we're not splitting into a species of two different kinds of humans. Five sensory humans are just humans in whom the new consciousness has not yet emerged, but it will within the next generation and a half. That doesn't mean that they'll be authentically powerful. The new power is a potential, and we have to bring it into being. The new consciousness itself is a gift, and we're all acquiring it. When you choose to create authentic power, you're choosing to align your personality with your soul. Here's another way of saying that. You're choosing to align the mortal part of yourself with the immortal part of yourself. The immortal part of yourself, the soul, intends harmony and cooperation and sharing and reverence for life. When you intend those things, you are aligning your personality with your soul. And when you're aligned with your soul, the energy of your soul flows through your personality like the breath of a musician through a flute and into the earth school. In such a person, you cannot see where the personality ends and the soul begins. That's an authentically powerful personality. Its characteristics are humbleness, clarity, forgiveness, and love. That's what you're becoming when you create authentic power. And as you do, you begin to recognize others who are also doing the same. You can't create authentic power for them, and they can't create it for you, but you can assist one another. These are your potential spiritual partners. Well, what does that mean, create authentic power? I'm going to walk you through it right now so you can see how simple it is and begin to do it if you're not already doing it. There's only two tools of creating authentic power: emotional awareness and responsible choice. Emotional awareness allows you to recognize when love is active in you and when fear is active in you. In other words, when a part of your personality that originates in love or a part of your personality that originates in fear is active in you. Whenever you're feeling, let's start with a painful a painful emotional experience, because when most people become aware and start to create authentic power, what they're mostly aware of is fear and the pain of it. So if you experience a painful physical sensation, jealousy, resentment, betrayal, don't look at the world. That's what five sensory humans do. When they have painful emotions, they look first at the world because they feel that the world is the cause of their experiences. And so to stop their emotional pain or increase their emotional pleasure, they need to change the world, and they try to. That is external power, the old kind of power. It used to be our good medicine. Now it's our poison. It produces only violence and destruction. Try it out for yourself. You'll see, and you can see it around you, in the world, in your neighborhood, in your family, in you. Instead, look inside, and you'll see internal dynamics. Those are what we've been calling frightened and loving parts of your personality. When you're feeling a painful emotion, put your attention in your chest area, and then your throat area, and then your solar plexus area, and look for physical sensations there. Physical sensations, not like expressions like I feel good, I feel bad, I feel heavy, I feel up, I feel down. No, the kind of physical sensation you feel when you hit your thumb with a hammer when you're aiming for the nail. Oh, that is horrible pain. Physical, painful emotions can feel that painful. Look at the thoughts that part of your personality is thinking, and you'll see that they're all critical and judgmental. For example, I don't have to be here. I already know all of this. I'm smarter than everyone here anyway. Maybe not smarter than him, but probably smarter than him too. Or, I don't know all of this. I'll never learn it. Everyone here is smarter than me. Or, she's so stupid. Or, I'm so stupid. These are the thoughts. These are the physical sensations that frightened parts of your personality feel and experience. And when you experience them, you know that fear is active. And the physical sensations and thoughts of a loving part of your personality are the opposite. They feel good, and their thoughts are of gratitude and care and patience and compassion. So while you're experiencing a frightened part of your personality, use your willpower, as I've mentioned before. Use your willpower, your free will, to move your attention into a loving part of your personality, into a time when you were loved and loving and you knew it. Go back to that. Experience what that feels like in these parts of your body. Energy processing centers. In the East, they're called chakras. Then look at the thoughts that loving part is thinking. Then, while you're in that part, decide to speak and act from the loving part of your personality while the frightened part of your personality is active, with its painful physical sensations and its judgmental, critical thoughts. That's the moment of creating authentic power. That's it. That's when it happens. And it's not an event, it's a process. As you do this again and again and again, love begins to fill your awareness more and more until it fills it entirely. That is how you create authentic power. Authentic power is the requirement. Creating authentic power is the new requirement of our evolution. It is the requirement of the multisensory species that we are rapidly becoming. The old power prevents our evolution. It creates only violence and destruction. Now, where in that does spiritual partnership come in? Everywhere that you do when you create authentic power. Because as you do, you begin to recognize other people that are doing the same. Others are still asleep. They're talking mostly about the ball game or fashion or school or the PTA meeting or work. Well, spiritual partners talk about those things too. But whenever they sense in one another a frightened part of the personality, they might ask, beloved, that thing you just said, did that come from love or did it come from fear? What are you feeling in your chest area, in your throat, in your solar plexus? What thoughts is this part of your personality thinking? In other words, they'll ask you things and say things to help you become aware. A friend will only say things to help frightened parts of your personality feel better. If a relationship dissolves, a friend will say, oh, don't worry about it. You're a beautiful woman. I know a lot of fellas that would love to be with you. In fact, I'm working with one. I want to introduce you. But a spiritual partner will say, where are you feeling that? What is that part of your personality thinking? What's your intention for saying that? Do you see the difference? There's a huge difference. Friends speak frightened parts to frightened parts. But spiritual partners are on the road to learning how to speak to one another soul to soul. And that's the new perception. That's the new consciousness. It's beyond the five senses. And we have a course, by the way, on our website, which is seatofthesoul.com. And that course is called Beyond the Five Senses. And I suggest that you take it. It goes with a book called Responsible Choice, The Mind of the Soul. We also have a course, if you're already familiar with the new consciousness, we have a course on emotional awareness. And it goes with a book, The Heart of the Soul, that Linda and I co-authored. I suggest these things to you because if I've resonated with anything, as I mentioned at the beginning of this talk, and you know you've resonated, experiment with them. These courses and these books will help you do just that. And so will your spiritual partners as you begin to experiment with who they might be, with who they are. There's so many ways that wisdom and love and compassion can come into the human experience, countless ways. This is a window through which I've come to view life, and I hope it will be helpful to you. But I don't say that you must see life this way. But in my experience, the vocabulary of authentic power is powerful because it's accurate and it's concise. So if you're happy with your life the way it is, keep doing what you're doing. It's not that you're not doing what you should be doing. You're simply not changing. But if you'd like your life to be more full, more rich, have more people in it and meaningful connections, more creativity and expansiveness, it's up to you to create it. How do you create it? You can't just bring it into being by saying, I'm going to be more expansive. I'm going to be more compassionate. I'm going to be more loving. Then go ahead. Lots of people do that, but it's not going to work. The only way to become more loving is to have the courage and the commitment to find every part of your personality that prevents you from loving. Experience it intimately. That's emotional awareness. And then choose to move beyond the control of it with your will. That's a responsible choice, a choice that creates consequences for which you are willing to assume responsibility. Well, let's see what questions are coming up. I'm looking at some now. Now, the questions so far are all coming from Zoom, but don't forget that you can write your questions in the comments section of whatever platform you're on, whether it's Instagram or YouTube, and we'll get it, and I'll see it. Now let's see.
Also, if Gary calls your name and reads your question and you're on Zoom, raise your hand in Zoom so we can spotlight you. And to do that, just go to the bottom of your screen, click on the React button, and you'll see an option to raise your hand. And then we can spotlight you. Those of you on social media, we can't spotlight you, but continue to put your questions in the comment section, and Gary will read as many of them as he can live. Thank you.
Thank you, Gail.
Mm-hmm.
That's it, exactly. Well, all of these questions have one common focus. I'm going to read some and you'll see what it is. And usually it's the questioner wants to change somebody else. But some of these questioners want to change themselves. Now that is where the gold mine is. Because you can use your interactions with others. That's where your interactions produce things worthwhile looking at. And those worthwhile things are awareness of parts of your personality, loving and frightened. For example, here's this one from Stuart. I'm being, quote, attacked by my partner for not being able to create financial abundance and future security. How can I face this pain and confrontation? The question is, how can I face this pain and confrontation? Stuart, this is just what we've been talking about. You use emotional awareness and responsible choice. When your partner expresses his or her discomfort with you, looks at you as being inadequate, and you experience that as painful, don't look at your partner. Your partner is doing you a service by bringing up a frightened part of your personality. That doesn't mean that you're going to want to stay with that partner because you love looking at frightened parts of your personality. But it means you look at what you feel in terms of physical sensations in your energy processing centers. So if someone said, what are you feeling, Stuart? And you could say, I'm going to make this up now. Well, I feel a sharp pain in the upper left part of my chest and an aching in the whole right half of my chest area. And in my throat, I feel a constriction, like the size of a big one, a tennis ball in my throat. And it hurts. It's at the bottom of my throat. And in my solar plexus, I feel a burning across the entire top of it. And the words and the thoughts that I'm thinking are, oh, I'll never be good enough for anyone. I can't do any of these things. I'm not born for this world. Or the thoughts will be, well, go out and get a job yourself. Do all of this yourself. It depends upon the kind of frightened part that you have. You're familiar with it because you're living with it. But the point is, become aware of it now, intimately aware of it, and then choose to challenge it. Challenge does not mean going to war with it. It means experiencing it intimately. That's emotional awareness. And then choosing while you're experiencing it, not to be controlled by it. To move beyond the control of a frightened part of your personality is the challenge. And the more you do that, the more that part of your personality begins to lose its control over you. It still returns, still hurts, still thinks its thoughts, but its control over you begins to diminish. It begins to roll off of you like water off the feathers of a duck. This is a really good question. Don't look outward at the world, which in this case is your partner. Your partner is also acting from a frightened part of your partner's personality, a part that's insecure, a part that wants to blame the world for what it's feeling. You know better than that, but you're feeling the frightened parts of your personality, and that is what you can use to create authentic power. That's why you're experiencing it. This is the Earth School. This is the way it works. It is entirely compassionate, even though it hurts sometimes. Oh, now here we have some okay, here's some questions. Here's one from Facebook. Julie Evelina says, what if you do not have a spiritual partner? Well, Julie, we can't spotlight you, but I can answer you. You don't need a spiritual partner to create authentic power. That's something you do yourself. And every time you encounter someone that activates a frightened part of your personality, which means a painful emotional experience, use that to create authentic power. Look at what you are experiencing in those areas of your body, your chest, throat, solar plexus. Look at the thoughts that this part is feeling. Now, when you start doing that, you're going to draw to you people who are doing the same. And you'll recognize in some of those people potential spiritual partners. As you speak with them, they will start to support you. In other words, instead of saying, well, gee, that fellow was that rude to you, that person was that rude on the freeway, you got overcharged that much, that's horrible. Let's go back and complain. I'll go with you. That's what a friend would do. But a spiritual partner will say, keep in mind, Julie, that what you're experiencing does not have to do with the world. The world has activated an interior dynamic in you. And this interior dynamic, a frightened part of your personality, is creating these painful experiences. When you look at that interior dynamic with the intention to change it, now you're creating authentic power. 5 sensory humans try to change the world in order to make themselves feel better, in order to mask the pain that they're experiencing. Multisensory humans who are creating authentic power look inside with the intention to change themselves. That's creating authentic power. And you can do it anywhere, anytime. There will be no shortage of people in your life that will activate frightened parts of your personality. You can count on it. And every one of them is an opportunity to move into love. Count on it. Andy. Oh, Andy, also from Facebook, says, comments, what fear did you feel when Linda transitioned? What emotions did you recognize that needed to change? Oh, my goodness. What did I feel? Linda had a stroke. I was with her when she did. I was behind the ambulance on the way to the hospital. I was with her. I was beside the operating room when the surgeon told me he couldn't help. And I was with her in the ICU when her body died, when her personality died, which means when her soul went home. Linda didn't transition. Linda, the personality, the one I love so much, that she's so playful and beautiful and engaging, and that personality is dead. But the energy that animated that personality is still here. It still loves me, and I still love it. The pain that I felt the first night without Linda was beyond what I can describe. I didn't think that was part of the human experience. It's the opposite of loving Linda. That was wonderful. This was the other end of the spectrum. Is still here. I didn't think I could live through it. It loves me. I didn't want to, and I still love it. I asked to die. The pain that I felt the first night without Linda was, my logic was good. I said, I'm going to die anyway. That's a given. Take me now, please. But that was not given to me. And the next morning, as I sat by, we have a little body of water we have, it's like a lagoon. I realized that I don't have a reason for living now except to love people. And it's permanent. It's been that way ever since. And I've had more experiences like that that have been deepening and expanding that. I didn't ask for that. I didn't go through these processes, but I think I know what happened now. I look back on it, and while I was experiencing that pain, unbearable pain, I did not distract myself. I did not say, I'm going to have a snack. I did not say, I'm going to have a drink. I've never had one, but I wonder what bourbon tastes like. I did not say, I'm going to look for sex. I did not think these things. I kept, I want to say focused on the pain, but it isn't as though I were focusing on something like I'm looking through a microscope, and there it is. I was experiencing it without any distraction, no television, no nothing. Just my life, and what was happening. And I believe that the connection there caused that transformation in me. And now Linda's still with me more and more over these last 3.5 years. At first, very confusing because I was talking to her and missing her at the same time. So it wasn't as though I needed what emotions I had to change. That came quickly after. I looked at all the ways I could have loved her more, could have supported her more, criticized her when I didn't need to. Never needed to do that, but a frightened part of my personality criticized everyone, including me. And I've been working on challenging those ever since. It's been a very fruitful and rewarding journey, some of it very painful, and some of it very exciting. Let's meet again. You know, I have a call called An Evening with Gary Zukav. It's a subscription call. It's not free. It doesn't cost that much. And it's once a month. And it's like this one, but there'll be more time to answer questions because I started at the beginning on this call because so many people on it are new to Authentic Power. But please join me. I want to answer your questions there. I've been recognizing emotions that don't need to change, but if I want to evolve, that's what is going to have to happen. And also, if I want to move beyond the pain of them, that's what's going to have to happen. But it's not as though pain is something to escape. It's an inconvenience. It is a nuisance with a capital N. No. The experience of every frightened part of a personality is the universe's gracious way of bringing my attention to a part of my personality that I need to move beyond the control of in order to give the gifts that I was born to give. And you need to do the same thing. You'll see, you can't give the gifts you were born to give while you're angry or jealous or resentful or in the grip of an addictive craving. How do you move beyond it? That's what we've been talking about, creating authentic power. Renee Lennon at Facebook says the same thing. How do I find the fear in me? Renee, listen to the recording of this call and then listen to it again and then listen to it again and then read the book, The Heart of the Soul, Emotional Awareness by Linda and me, and take the course. Renee says, I always feel angry lately with the way things are now. I want to suggest, Renee, that you felt angry and it hasn't just been lately. This is an old and familiar experience with you. And it doesn't have to do with the way things are now. Remember, when you're feeling a frightened or a loving part of your personality, it is not what you think it is. It is not coming from what you think it is coming from. It is not coming from politics. It is not coming from what you hear on television or what you see around you. It is coming from you. The world is activating internal dynamics in you. And as long as you keep blaming the world for what you feel, you're not going to change. And that's not a problem, except that you're not going to change. But if you want to move into real power, and that's love, there is no greater power. That's going to take work on your part. But that work itself is the potential, is the opportunity that the new consciousness is giving us. And that opportunity is what we have been saying is creating authentic power. Well, there are other questions, some coming from YouTube now. I would love to answer them, but we have come to the end of our time together tonight. I am so grateful to be with you and so grateful to share these things. Oh, by the way, I have a deep cast. Some people call it a podcast, but I decided I wanted to call this a deep cast because it is an exploration of things that are significant and meaningful and necessary if you want to move into your full potential, which is far beyond what you can imagine right now. You'll find the deep cast helpful to you. You can listen to them on YouTube, watch them on YouTube, or listen to them almost any place else. So take courses, take some of our courses, read some of our books. Let your intuition be your guide. We talk about intuition in some of the deep cast and some of the evenings with Gary Zukav. Intuition is the voice of the non-physical world. Isn't that juicy? That's also a part of the new consciousness. All of that is juicy. All of that is open, is rich, is beyond the five senses, the name of another course that we have. I love being with you. I am looking forward to being with you again. I always do. Now, before we leave, what I suggest is this, that let's unmute everyone so that, and everyone turn your camera on, turn your mic on, and let's unmute everyone so we can all say goodbye, I love you, whatever is appropriate to say, that's always appropriate for me, and end our call that way. Can we do that now? Let's see. Is everyone?
Thank you, Gary.
Bye, everyone. Love you.
Bye.
Thank you, Gary.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye,
Thank
everyone.
you.
Grateful
Bye.
for you.
Bye, Gary.
Adios.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye, Gary. Bye.
Good night.
Bye.
Bye.
Good night. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hope to see you again.
Thank you.
Love, love.
Thank you, Gary.
Thank you.
Gary.
Thank you. Night, everyone.
Good
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 night.
night.
Good night.
Is this recorded?